This edition of Mac Voices is brought to you by SaneBox, the best way to take control of your out-of-control email. For a free trial and a $10 credit, visit sanebox.com/MacVoices. Welcome to Mac Voices. This is a talk of the Mac community. I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, we are on the road to Macworld iWorld 2014. As you already know because you watch the show regularly, we are talking to exhibitors and presenters and everybody we can find about what they're doing at the show and why you should go, why you should come, really, and join us. This time around, I've been a little nervous about this for reasons that will become obvious in a second. We have back Allison Sheridan of the NoSoA Cast podcast, hosted at podfeeds.com, to talk about what she's going to be talking about. Allison, it's great to see you. Thanks for being back.
Hey, Chuck, what do you mean? You're afraid to interview me, huh? I was good last time. I behaved myself.
Well, as I recall, the last time your presentation at Macworld had to do with you being blindfolded. And so this time I'm thinking, okay, so what now? She's going to show up in a suit of armor, or what's going to happen this time?
Well, how about Life After Death? Digital Disaster, Life After Death is the title of my new, my latest presentation.
Oh, so you're going to scare us this time now.
Yeah. I thought that'd be fun.
Okay. Well, are you serious? Is that the title?
Yeah. So the inspiration for this talk actually came from our good friend Tim Verpoorten, who started the Mac Review Cast and was also one of the founding members of the Mac Roundtable. Good friend of Chuck and mine. Yeah. And unfortunately, he passed away last year, and it inspired a conversation we had on the Mac Roundtable about what kind of things could we do while we're alive and able-bodied to help our friends and families if something were to happen to us. Basically, from the geek perspective, most geeks have people in their lives who are not geeks like we are. So the danger is that you could leave your non-geek family in a situation where they don't know how to get into your accounts, how to get to your passwords. They don't know what all that equipment is. It was partially inspired by what happened to Tim because his wife was left with a studio full of equipment and didn't know what was worth anything. So she shipped it to me, his office. 22 moving boxes she shipped to my house. And Steve and I and our friend Dorothy basically had to collate and go through and assess what was in these boxes and recover more than the $2,800 she spent sending it to us. So it got us thinking about what kinds of things could you tell your friends and family about your digital life and your electronics and all this stuff. What could you do to help them if something were to happen to you? And in the Mac Roundtable discussion, we kind of got into, well, what if you're not dead, but you're just incapacitated? What would need to continue? What has to keep going in your backups and, all different kinds of things like that?
First of all, I'm dead serious about this. You and Steve deserve so much credit because you did an amazing amount of work trying to organize Tim's stuff and get it sold so that you could give some money back to his wife. And you earned your wings there. That was terrific.
I appreciate it, Chuck. Well, it came at the right time. We had just retired, so we didn't have anything stacked up on our plate, right? So it was kind of a right place at the right time. But it was a learning experience. Let's put it that way. And we did actually make her a healthy profit when we were done.
And and I think it's interesting too if you look at it the right way. And I'm going to. Tim is still teaching us something because by the mistakes he made, it's something that any one of us could get caught at any given moment. Because I'm just like you, I've got, well, folks, let's look at it this way. Think about the way you have your TV hooked up. If you're a geek, I bet there's nobody else in the house that can operate your TV but you, right? So think about your computer. Think about all the assets that you have, and I don't just mean monetary assets, that your significant other, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, would not have access to, would never be able to break into or figure out how to get to if something happened to you. And that's what Allison's going to solve.
We're going to talk about your photographs. Where are your photographs? Are they on Flickr? Do you care what happens to those? What if something happened to you, you were still alive, and your Flickr subscription disappeared? And all of a sudden, all those photos were gone, and that's where you had archived them. I'm looking, Chuck. You have in over your right shoulder, you have a transporter. If that transporter is hooked up to someone else and your sister comes in and throws that away, would that affect the person on the other end? Is there some sort of syncing going on? Where is that data? Where does it go? So we're going to talk about a lot of different things. And I'm hoping what'll happen, like I said, we talked about this on the Mac Roundtable, and for some reason, it was actually a really entertaining episode. I mean, it was a tragic time and a tragic situation, but we actually had some fun talking about it, and it's fun to when you think about it speculatively. I mean, I'm assuming everybody has a will, and I don't know how your lawyer was, but I was really dreading making a will, and when we finally did do it, I remember the guy was hilarious. He says, okay, so Steve dies, everything goes to you, right? You die, everything goes to Steve. We said, right. And he says, okay, you and Steve are driving and you get a car wreck, you're both dead. Who's it go to? Okay, goes to your kids. 50-50? Yeah, good. Okay, you and Steve and your two kids, you're on a plane crashes. Okay, who's it go to? Okay, our moms and dads. Okay, great, moms and dad. Okay, moms and dads, you and Kyle, Lindsay and Steve, you're all on a cruise. Now, a tsunami comes up, and he just kept making these worse and worse catastrophic disasters. So you can have fun with it when you're actually doing something serious.
Yeah, and I think everybody dreads it, and it's not fun, but you can have some fun with it. Funeral planning, take that burden off of people. In an afternoon, you can get all this stuff done, and it's not pleasant, but then it's done, and I guarantee you'll go to bed that night feeling so much relieved. You're so relieved from pressure you didn't even know you had.
Yeah, yeah. And I must come from a long line of goofballs. I do remember my father sitting me down and speaking quite seriously about what he wanted when he died for his funeral arrangements. And he said, Allison, I really need you to understand this. This is very, very important to me. When I die, I want to be cremated, and I want you to sprinkle me over the compost heap. But why do I care? I'm going to be dead.
Yeah.
So I knew that whatever we did, Dad would be fine. It'd be all right.
Yeah.
But making those arrangements, like you say, ahead of time. You brought up the TV diagram, and that's understanding how the TV works. When my son was fairly young, I don't know, he was maybe 9 or 10 years old. He's very, very silly. Takes after the family tree here. I created a diagram that showed our network diagram and had all of the passwords and explained what was connected to what was hardwired, what was Wi-Fi. You got a lot of different devices. I had a whole network diagram, and I had another one for the TV showing the audio and the video layers so they could figure everything out if something were to happen to me. And at that point in time, he looked at me and said, Mom, you don't have a will. But darn it, you got the Wi-Fi password because that's what's really important. So
yep, and do
the will first, but now do this stuff.
Right, and the sad thing is, every one of us, we all have this. We have the same practice. We'll take care of the things that we like to do and we want to do.
It was fun to do that.
Yeah, and we'll put off that stuff that you don't want to do. And this is not legal advice. This is all just practical advice here when we're talking about the wills and everything. But Allison, let's get to your session because again, building off of that Mac Roundtable episode, there were so many little tips and tricks, so many things that if you don't point them out to people, they really kind of forget. Like you said, Flickr. I mean, who's gonna think about Flickr? Those are incredible assets that generations may miss if you don't take care of them properly.
Right. What I'm going to try to do is separate this into 3 sort of categories, 3 or 4. What would the 4th one be? I think there might be 4. I know it's going to, there's a whole section on passwords and what you should do about that. And then a section on services. So that gets into like Dropbox and all those kinds of things. And then the 3rd segment is your stuff. What should you do with your stuff that would make lives easier for your friends and family? So it's kind of broken up into those 3. Now I might be forgetting. I'll bring up Keynote while we're talking because I actually have my presentation finished already. Because I'm just that crazy.
Show off.
I'm going to be out of town for a while, so that was necessary. But flinging really quickly, key areas to password services, organization of your electronics, and then the 4th one was how to document things to protect your interests of what you care about, especially if you're still around. That's a kind of a different way of looking at it, but it could be, you're in a coma, but you're only planning on sleeping for, a week or 2. What would you do differently about that?
And that's another really interesting angle to this because certain things happen when you pass away legally and that give whoever you've given access to, whether it's your executor, executrix, your spouse or whatever. But if you're in a coma, it can be a whole different animal, and you may not have quite the same powers to get things done. And
that's a good point.
The bills have to be paid. The house has to be kept up because hopefully you're coming back. Somebody needs to have access to some of this stuff.
Right. What I liked about us, I liked us getting together on the Mac Roundtable because people had information that I didn't have. I think you were the one who pointed out that if you do pass away, your credit card automatically gets canceled. Well, if that credit card is what's tied to your Flickr account, now what's going to happen? How are you going to connect those things back up? Just this week, I succeeded in getting Tim Verporten's Twitter account shut down. Now, you wouldn't think, what do you care about Twitter if you're dead, right? What do you care? Well, Twitter was sending out pornographic spam on his behalf. Now, Tim was not the kind of gentleman who would have liked that to be coming out of his account. So here it is. It's coming up on, it's about 7 months since he passed away, and it took us that long to kill his account. Actually, it was probably only the last couple of months since I sent the death certificate over to Twitter and asked him to shut the account down. But it shut down yesterday. So had we had the password to his account, we could have shut it down.
Now, that's really interesting because I hadn't heard that part of the story. You actually had to submit a death certificate to Twitter to get an account shut down.
Paper copy in the mail.
An original paper copy,
I was able to do a photocopy.
Okay, good.
But and to say I was acting on Alice's behalf and that sort of thing. But there was a lot of stuff like that where, God, if you had just known this, could have fixed it like that. But instead, it turned into this big nightmare that we had to go through to fix these things. So, and Tim, that would have been the thing he wanted us to fix first.
Well, sure. I mean, did his account get hacked or?
Yeah, his account got hacked.
Oh,
yeah. So, I mean, who would have thought that your Twitter account mattered? Yeah. Right? That's just silliness.
Yeah.
Well, not in that case.
Did Tim have a Facebook account? Have you even looked?
Yes, he did.
I just wonder
think about that. I do have a section on what happens in Facebook when somebody passes away, what you can do, but I don't remember actually whether that's been shut down or not. But yeah, in fact, I think that's how we found out about Tim. Actually,
and here, folks, and again, I'm not. Allison's going to tell you how to do all this, but think about that. It took a death certificate to get Twitter shut down. Maybe you don't want your Facebook or your Twitter shut down. Maybe you just like to lock it off, see what have somebody caretake it for a while because that's legacy material of yours. So
and there is a way actually in Facebook. That's one of the things I'm going to talk about to memorialize someone. I might have too many syllables in that word, but where you can have it where people can post on it and say, here's how great of a guy that was, and have that shared experience of grieving for the person in a respectful way.
Yeah.
So I just checked. His account is still up.
Well, that's these are all things, and these are all problems that 10 years ago didn't exist because we all live our lives online so much now. But email addresses and the Twitter spam is interesting because if your email address is sitting out there, it could be hacked and people could be receiving emails from you after you're gone with stuff that you'd rather really not have them have or be exposed to. So
I think we're kind of getting into the sadder parts of this, but one thing I do want people to know if they come listen to me is I'm not always right, but I'm always entertaining. Right?
Yeah, that's true.
So it's not going to be a sad, dreary speech. You're not going to walk away wanting to actually shoot yourself, but you're going to come away with some good ideas, but you will be entertained along the way. I do like to get people laughing a little bit and have some fun.
And again, just like you were saying with the attorney that you went to for your will, you can have some fun with this stuff because you're not facing the harsh reality of it.
Yeah, it's not reality.
Yeah, you're preparing for the reality, and it's something you want to do for the people you care about.
Yeah, exactly.
So
if you come, you will have fun, I promise.
Yeah, and it sounds like you've got a nice broad range of stuff to talk about here. One that you mentioned that I would love to hear about, and I'll probably have to stop by the session because we don't want to do it here, but organization of your electronics, because I think most of us are notoriously bad at that.
Yeah, I'm looking behind you. Geez, Chuck, what is... No, I'm kidding.
Well, this is my workspace, but sure. I'm thinking about, not everybody keeps boxes and, something gets retired or whatever, and you take it to the basement and it doesn't make it way back to the box, and the power supplies get separated from whatever they're supposed to be power supplying, and it can turn into a big mess, and you had one of those messes to clean up. This edition of MacVoices is brought to you by SaneBox, the way to take control of your out-of-control email. For a free trial and $10 credit, visit sanebox.com/MacVoices. Folks, I really want you to try SaneBox. No, really. Go sign up for a 14-day free trial right now at sanebox.com/MacVoices. I'll wait. Okay, that might take a little long, so feel free to pause the audio or video, or just pay attention while I continue on, and you go right ahead and sign up. Why is it so important? I've tried pretty much every email management software, program, or technique out there with wildly varying results, and I haven't found anything that even comes close to SaneBox. The first afternoon I signed up for my free trial, SaneBox cut my inbox in half. That's great, but what was really remarkable was that I didn't disagree with any of SaneBox's decisions. It left the important stuff in my inbox and moved the rest to the Sane Later folder, where all the unimportant stuff goes for you to review, either in a digest mode or manually. In the days that followed, I found a few things redirected, a confirmation of a doctor's appointment that, while important, indeed had something of a generic look to it. A few other notifications that, while they were important to me, SaneBox needed to be told they were important to me, but only once. And that's the beauty of SaneBox. It's smart out of the gate and gets smarter. And unlike some other solutions that need to be told 2, 3, 4 times or more, SaneBox gets it with one instruction. I know you're skeptical. I was skeptical too. So don't believe me. Try it for yourself. Sanebox.com/MacVoices gets you the 14-day free trial as well as a $10 credit. I know. How much will this magic cost me? SaneBox plans start at $2.04 a month. That's the per month price. And I promise you that the time you save the first day before breakfast will more than pay for the month. So if you didn't do what I told you at the top of the spot, do it now. Go to sanebox.com/MacVoices and sign up for your free trial and get 10% credit on your SaneBox subscription. And let me know how you like it at chuck@macvoices.com, because I know you will like it. SaneBox, the way to take control of your out-of-control email. Thanks to SaneBox for sponsoring this edition of MacVoices.
Yeah, we still have, I think, 14 power supplies that we never figured out what they went to. But that was actually kind of one of the funny parts. It was like this really annoying match game. You know, one of us would find a device and come running into the room and say, hey, has anybody? Can you find a power supply that's got this hole? You know, goes in that connector that looks like that. It looks like it's going to need to be 12 volts, 3.4 amps. What do you got? And then we'd go, wait, or we'd find a power supply and go, wait, no, I saw something that looked just like that. The sad part was at the beginning, I was having a lot of trouble getting, I made a mistake. I teamed Dorothy and Steve together. And I said, okay, I'll do this stuff. You guys work on this stuff together. And Dorothy and Steve together, neither one of them has the throw anything away gene. Right? I'm taking entire boxes and going, that's junk, throwing it away. And they're like, well, no, this might go to something, you know? And after like 14 hours, they've organized all the cables, but none of them are gone. None of them are priced. Nothing, you know, it's like, okay, now we know what they are, but what are you going to do with it? And so our entire living room and dining room is full of stuff. But the problem was I was really good at throwing stuff away. And later on, they'd go, hey, did you see anything that would have plugged into this? I'm like, ooh, yeah, I did. I remember throwing that away. Sorry, it's gone now. So there was a flip side to each of them. But we still have, Chuck, never buy a cable ever again. Just call me and say, hey, you got one of these? Because I do. I don't just have all of my own junk. I have all of Tim's. Like I have Ethernet cables coming out of my ears. Who needs an Ethernet cable right now? But they're nicely categorized because Dorothy and Steve have them by Cat 5, Cat 5e, Cat 6.
Okay, yeah.
Probably some Cat 3. I don't know. Was there Cat 3? Anyway.
I don't know. I'm not sure. But if you'll hold on, I'll go to the basement and I'll look in my collection and I'll be able to tell you because I have the very same rat's nest of Ethernet cables.
Oh, I'm sure. But imagine having yours and somebody else's. So I'm going to win on that one every time. Yeah. I have too many HDMI cables. Who has too many HDMI cables? Nobody does. I do.
That's
because I had a couple spare. He had like 30 of them. I mean, I've got them, like I said, coming out of my ears. I should give them away as raffle prizes or something.
There you go. Come to Allison's session to win an HDMI cable.
Hey, don't promise them that. I don't want to carry them all.
So, Allison, when is your session?
Oh, that's something I should know by heart. Well, I know one thing. I got it moved because they put me right across from Katie Floyd, so I knew nobody would go to mine. So I had them move mine to 4 o'clock on Thursday, the 27th.
Okay.
So that's the first day.
The first day.
So you shouldn't even be tired yet. And what do you mean maybe you're going to stop by, Chuck?
All right.
You really think you're going to get away with maybe?
Yeah, that's true. I should have.
Do you want to pay that price?
Even if I had to lie about it, I will stop by. I promise.
Even if you were talking at the same time as me, you would still have to come to mine. Let's be serious. The price is just too high.
Allison, your session, I mean, I kind of like the way that Paul and Kathy and the crew have turned Macworld outward a little bit. There are a lot of tech sessions, but they're almost, I'm going to call them digital lifestyle sessions. That if you're into if you're into the technology and that doesn't mean you have to be a 100% hardcore geek, but you're just interacting with the technology. There are a lot of sessions now that are going to be educational, informative. Yours is going to be very practical, for a digital person.
What are you doing with it?
Yeah, and why?
Not like here's how to choose menu picks, but what are you doing with it that makes this interesting and makes your life, more fun, interesting, successful in some way?
Yeah, and I think that's just such a great adaptation because we all have moved. I mean, I think the whole world has moved into a more techie stance. There's people that didn't know anything about tech now, or they want to know which is the best Bluetooth headset, or what kind of HDMI cable do they need, or whatever. And they would never have known those words before, let alone what they did.
Yeah, there's a downside to that effect in society that's really been bothering me lately. Is how many people will tell you they're idiots because they don't get technology. Now, and that just drives me out of my mind because I don't know how to play the piano. Does that make me an idiot? No, I just don't know how to play the piano. I can't grow roses. Does that make me an idiot? No, it doesn't. But these people who can play the piano can design a house, who can fix a refrigerator, they can do all these things I can't do. They think they're idiots because they don't understand technology. Because it's so pervasive now, they feel handicapped and crippled in some way that they can't do these things that everybody else knows how to do. So one of the things I really try to do on my show and in real life is to try to dissuade people from thinking that way. Just going, no, this is just something you don't know. And I know it, so I'm going to help you. And then you help me do this other stuff I don't know how to do. I've got a good friend who's works at a clothing store. She helps me pick out clothes. I help her with her electronics. And she says, but Allison, you don't understand. I'm so scared when I go into the Apple store. And I said, that's how I feel shopping for clothes. And she says, no. I get like cold, sweaty palms. I said, right. That's how I feel when I shop for clothes. So I said, you just go with a symbiotic relationship. You don't have to know that because you know this other stuff and I'll help you with this and everybody's good. You're not an idiot because you don't know it.
No, and the other thing, there was a time I think that not being able to set the clock on your VCR was almost a badge of honor of some kind. And now there still are certain areas, and I think I hesitate to say age groups, so I'm just going to say categories of human beings who still they're not proud of it, but they accept it, and they accept.
Yeah, they don't want to learn it.
Well, they don't want to learn it, and it's just, or they're really intimidated by it. And the more you can relieve that intimidation, because it's not healthy in today's world to say I don't know how to do X. Now, I don't expect them to be able to write pivot tables to mimic a nuclear reactor, but you should be able to operate a spreadsheet, and you should be able to turn on your TV unless you've done what you've done to yours and I've done to mine.
Yeah, nobody should be able to turn ours on.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a much different world, and that's one of the reasons I think Macworld has become so important for completely different reasons.
Yeah, it has evolved. When I had Paul on my show talking about Macworld, we were talking about the evolution from it used to be more of a religious experience and we got to go be with our own kind, where in our regular lives, we were the leper that had the Mac and, everybody was sneering at us for either our toy or it couldn't play games. I liked it when that switched. Remember, it was a toy and then all of a sudden it couldn't play games. It's like, well, wait a minute. So it's supposed to be a toy? Which way are we going? But now it's become more mainstream. It's just everybody uses Macs and iPhones and iPads and that sort of thing. So the audience has changed and the atmosphere has changed somewhat, that it's not this religious thing anymore. but it's still a really friendly place. I mean, you can just sit down there are people sitting at lunch and just go, hey, what do you do? What do you do for fun? That's my favorite line. And if you go to Macworld, that is one of the biggest things I recommend is talk to people you don't know. It actually, when we went to the New Media Expo together, Chuck and Dave Hamilton and Steve and I were hanging out a lot, and I wasn't really getting much out of the conference. And so one day I just said, hey, you guys, I'm just not going to hang out with you guys. Well, I stayed with Steve, but he plays the game the same way I do, which is we just sat down at the table and just started talking to people. And I found when we were together with our friends, we were more insulated and someone would have to approach us. But when we went off by ourselves, we found new people, and then we still met for dinner and hung out and had fun and talked about the people we'd met.
New Media Expo is a lot more that way toward Macworld. CES, not at all. Not at all.
It's all business.
It is completely business, or it's completely focused. And I agree with you. Macworld, iWorld, I've met some amazing people, just like you say, sit down at a table and say, what do you do? And it's like a couple of years ago, I met someone from Callaway Golf and it's like, wow, what do you do at Callaway Golf? My dad spent 25 years as a teaching pro, and you had a different connection, but the fact that you could approach that person was fascinating.
Yeah, people are very approachable there. I get some flack from a buddy of mine for telling a story too many times, but I went to Scale, which is the Southern California Linux Expo, and it's the first time this ever happened to me. Nobody would talk to me. Nobody. I mean, it was unbelievable. I'm a friendly person. I can get people talking the grocery store line, anywhere. Could not get people to talk to me. I actually sat down. These two guys are kind of chatting. They took a pause. I kind of said hi, or I asked a question about something they were talking about, and the guy looked me right in the eye and said, "We're graybeards. You wouldn't understand."
Whoa.
I mean, seriously, it was that rude. And I was like, hey, forgive me if I haven't got a Y chromosome. I can't grow a beard, but wait, that makes me invalid to talk to you people? And it was like that. It was very, very competitive. And, you could just tell whether, you use Ubuntu? I would never use Ubuntu. I'm a Mandrake person all the way, whatever it was. And it's not like that at Macworld. Macworld is very friendly, very fun. Just people are there having a good time. It's one of the friendliest places to go.
And I think this is an important point. They're real people. They're not, yes, there are the right share of geeks and the people that really are into it, but even the geeks are approachable in that environment.
Sure. I mean, you're going to meet, teachers and musicians and artists and mechanics, and you'll just meet some of everybody. But you do have to put yourself out there. You do have to make the effort. I talked to somebody who said, "Well, yeah, I wanted the exhibit hall floor, and I walked in and out in 15 minutes. I didn't find anything." You and I went around and did, 20, 30 kind of interviews in that span of time and across a couple of days and compared notes. And we had like 40% where we never even overlapped, where I was like, how did you find that guy? I never saw that guy. There's tons of stuff. It's all your attitude.
And we both had more people we wanted to see that when they were shutting down the lights on the last day. It's like, well, I want just one more I want to talk to, So.
Yeah. You have to take your time and really pay attention a little bit. If you walk through it at a brisk pace, you're going to miss everything.
Yep.
And if you just sit by yourself and look at your iPhone, you're not going to get anything out of it. When you go home, you're going to go, I don't know, people weren't very friendly.
Yeah. And if you spend all your time on the show floor, you're going to miss out on great conferences. And if you spend all your time on the conferences, you're going to miss out on a great show floor.
That's my one regret is it's really hard to juggle the tech talks and the show floor. And every time I went to the show floor, it was like, oh man, I missed Don doing his thing on ScreenFlow or whatever, one of the main ones I wanted to see. Luckily he did a tutorial on that, but I was never bored. That's for sure.
Oh,
morning to night.
No. And it's one thing that always happens to me. It's amazing to me because when the whistle blows and they open the door and all of a sudden it's 6:00 at night. And I can't figure out what I was doing all day. And I look back, it's like, I talked to a lot of people and saw a lot of stuff, but the time just goes so fast.
Now, what do you find more exhausting, CES or Macworld? It's a different kind of exhaustion.
It's a different kind of exhaustion. Macworld, I think you come home exhilarated.
Yeah, emotionally exhilarated. Yeah,
yeah. CES is fun, but it's
just drained the lifeblood out.
It didn't drain the lifeblood, but you don't come home. I think you come home.
It's more like work.
No, I don't even want to say that, Allison. I think you absorb, you take in a lot, but I didn't find it recharging.
Okay.
Except the time you get to spend with like you and Dave and all. But Macworld, you come back and you're physically exhausted, but you're emotionally recharged, creatively recharged. You really want to tackle that project you've been thinking about, or you've come up with 5 new ones to come
and new
home
friends.
With. And new friends.
New friends every year. New friends.
New friends. And folks, we can't stress that enough. Walk up to somebody and say, "Hi, I'm Chuck, and this is what I do. What do you do?"
They don't have to say they're Chuck, though.
No, they don't have to say they're Chuck. They have to fill in the blank.
Okay.
Fill in the blank. Well, Allison, I know I can't wait to go, and I think that's probably fair for you.
Absolutely.
For me to say that for you too.
Couldn't get more excited.
So Thursday, 4 p.m., which is the first day of the show. Go to Allison's session and take home some really good practical advice. And she promises it won't be morbid. And I know Allison, I don't think she could be morbid if she wanted to be.
It'll be fun and silly. Hey, can I say the name of my show one more time? Because when you first introduced it a little.
Yeah, I think I screwed it up. Yeah. So
a little bit.
Well, I don't practice it like you do. Yeah.
My show is called the NosillaCast Mac Podcast, and it's hosted at podfeet.com. And you can follow me on Twitter at podfeet.
Perfect. Allison, it's great to see you. I can't wait to see you in about a month.
See you next month.
Sounds
all right,
good.
Chuck. See you then.
Folks, I'm Chuck Joyner. This is The Road to Macworld on MacVoices. We hope you will join Allison in San Francisco. I hope you'll join me in San Francisco. We're going to have a blast, and we want you there. Until the next time, thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for links, show notes, to subscribe, to connect with Chuck on Twitter, app.net, Google+, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Subscribe to our weekly newsletter, the MacVoices Dispatch, to stay up to date with all the latest MacVoices news from our front page or at macvoices.com/newsletter. Advertising and sponsorships handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com.